Welcome back to Pro Impact's Beer 30. We have a wonderful and fantastic surprise here for you today. Today we are going to bring in a guest host, Miss Say from Say Anything. So she is our guest host. That's probably so loud. I'm blowing my mic out.
Hello, everyone. So, my name is Jomsy. I'm gonna be the guest host for today. Welcome to the Beer 30.
Beer 30, because every day deserves to have a little bit of R&R and relaxation.
And first of all, I would like to thank you guys for being here today or tonight. And yes, today is another learning to our business coach.
Yes, and boy, do we have a special one today. So Jomsy is going to get into this in a moment, but we are going to talk about a little bit about immigrants and how immigrants can get off to a great start, particularly if they have that entrepreneurial spirit and really just want to kind of create and establish a business and do something for themselves here in America. Literally live the American dream and take advantage of those opportunities.
Yes, like me, I'm an immigrant. It's always hard for me from the beginning to start, and especially to build a business in here because everything is new to me as an immigrant. However, I am always ready and well prepared to do well in this country.
All right. If anybody, as always, if you have questions or comments, throw them down below. We'll do our best to get to it and answer them and customize it for you. That's why we're here. Without further ado, let's kick off the interview.
Okay, so I have the first question. Are you ready?
Question number one.
Question number one. So, Brian, I love to hear how you became the go-to expert at Pareto Impact.
Oh, you are too kind. That's a great question. So why would you listen to Brian? Okay, so I'm going to do my best to give this the fast version, but I grew up here in the Lehigh Valley, and I've always kind of had leadership in my blood. Maybe I'm just like a little bit of that alpha and aggressive personality. So around 20 years old, I started at UPS, was immediately promoted into management. Kind of didn't know it at the time, but I think this is relevant. So, at the time, I think they were like a Fortune 50 company. They're still like a Fortune 100. So I didn't know at the time, but I'm getting like really good leadership. You know what I mean? 20 years old. So I worked there for 10 years, and they just gave me a really good operational grounding. They steal some ideas from Toyota through their lean manufacturing, which is all about efficiency and just being smart and ergonomically planned out. Okay, really, really optimizing efficiency. So through that lens, from there I went on to Verizon Wireless. And together, they're a Fortune 10 company. And through that lens, I really got to see sales, customer service, and operations. Now, all along, I was opening my own businesses. I started with a comic book store. We just celebrated 20 years in business with some of my friends. Then I went on to do an insurance company. From there, I went on to do real estate. And now I'm doing Pareto consulting and coaching.
So after all that experience, have you ever worked with immigrants starting their own business?
The simple answer is we're all immigrants at some point. But yes, now there's a couple cool things, but I think this is the most important part. One of the easiest and best things about business, and this is probably a big part of why I am here and doing what I do, is that the answers are the same. So that the way you run a smart business is the way you run a smart business is the way you run a smart business. So you don't change it because you're because you're creating a business as an immigrant. It really becomes, how do I get the immigrant that knowledge, right? And then maybe how do I specialize it? And within that construct and restraint, add my own flair and lean into the advantages that I might have. So to summarize, like the best practices, that's a really good way to look at it, are always the same, or almost always.
Okay. So, are you ready for the second question?
Yeah.
So,
Are you ready?
So Brian, growing up, I saw my parents build their farm and cantina. Cantina is a canteen, a small restaurant canteen from nothing
It would almost be like
in the Philippines.
a similar feel might be like a either like a pop-up restaurant or like maybe like a food truck would be similar feel, right?
Kinda, because it's a small business, yes. And then it's nothing in the Philippines. What's the first thing an immigrant entrepreneur should focus on when starting fresh in a new country?
Okay. That is an amazing question, Say. So here's the number one thing that we want to focus in on, and that is the more your product or service is needed for real, the more success you have or will have, and the less obstacles you should have to get there. So I think the first step is to really make sure that you're not just trying to throw poop at the wall and that you have a great idea that really does something that's needed. Now, we've all been there though. A lot of times what we do is take something that we see somebody else do and we try and replicate it. We try and do what they do. Maybe a simple one would be like a grass cutter, okay?
Yeah.
So we go, oh, they're doing it. I can get a mower, I can get a tractor, and I can cut grass too. And you're not wrong. So in those scenarios, if you're trying to mimic, instead of create from nothing, if you're trying to mimic an existing business model, it's super important that you say, how am I going to distinguish myself from anybody else that's in the industry and what they're doing? Okay. So how am I different? Answer that question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, here's the cool thing. Once you start down that waterfall and cascade, it actually can create some really good advantages, leverage points. So as an immigrant, we'll use you as an example, or maybe your mom. So if she created, a cantina here and called it, I don't know, anyhow or something like that, okay, and I said, hey, who else does Filipino food in the area? And the answer is no one that I'm aware of, right?
Yeah.
So now it's like, ooh.
So is it good that there shouldn't be other, like for example, Filipino restaurant to the area before you start a business? Or
So let's merge the two things I was just bringing up. So if there was 1,000 Filipino restaurants in your city, that's a lot of competition.
right? Yeah.
It is going to be way harder for you to be unique. Okay. Whereas if you're the only Filipino restaurant, now first off, that could tell you that nobody wants Filipino food, but I don't think that's the case because I've had Filipino food and it's delicious. So if you're the only Filipino restaurant, guess what? Anytime someone's hungry for Filipino food, they're going to come to you.
Yeah,
right?
That's very true.
All right. So here at Pareto Impact, we call that a market dominating position. So if you're the only one doing what you do, you are dominating your market. Now, no matter where you start, I encourage you to get closer to that point, as close to that point as possible. Go in that direction of where you're distancing yourself from what others are doing, and you're making your flow unique and stand out against your competitors.
Yeah.
Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Great. What's next
Very informative
on the agenda?
So first of all, before we're gonna go to the next question, I would like to maybe shout out to all of the viewers.
Oh,
right
excellent.
there.
Shout out to our viewers.
We actually have a question from one of the viewers.
Hey, throw it, man.
Well, you saw, we're talking about challenges, and I have prompting here. Comment your biggest challenges below. This is Beer 30. This guy Corey said, "Here's a challenge: 30 days of sobriety." I hope you accomplish it, Corey.
Corey, if you've already done it, awesome job. That is no easy feat. The struggle for everyone is different. If you're about to embark on it, you're not alone. Your friends and family stand with you. Even strangers like us, we stand with you. You have way more support than you could ever imagine. Sometimes it's a little scary that we feel like people aren't in our corner. Sometimes we have to ask for help. Sometimes we have to ask for support. But I guarantee you, there's more people in your corner than you would ever imagine.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing, Corey.
That's very true.
Stay along for the ride. Let's see where this goes.
So, are you ready for that third question then?
Yeah.
I know this gentleman is always ready to any question that you have it in your mind, in your heart. Don't hesitate yourself.
Sometimes she can't get me to shut up.
Down below. If you have any question, just comment down below, or you can just send them a private message. If you are shy, if you are not comfortable to put your comment or question on the comment section. Okay? So the third question I have, so this is about the language barrier.
Ooh, good one. This one's real. This one's real.
Because language barriers can be tough. I've been there. How can someone turn that challenge into a strength of their business, Brian?
Great question. Okay, so first, let me. I'm gonna separate this into two kind of distinct paths. First is, how do we turn it into an advantage? First off, you might be more memorable. Okay, so if you're like, she spoke with an accent,
Okay,
it could help you stand out.
Oh.
Okay, make you more memorable. That gives you an advantage.
Sorry to interrupt. That is really funny because at work, like when they heard a new accent, they idolized my accent.
Ooh.
Even me, myself, I feel like I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I feel like they don't understand me. Behind to that, some other people appreciate it. They like it.
Oh, absolutely. So second thing, and you can tell me if this is true, is it an icebreaker sometimes? Or sometimes people, like you just say hi, blah, blah, and they go, oh, where's your accent from?
Yes.
And now they're talking to you on a personal level.
Yeah.
So now you're breaking down barriers. Yeah. That's a big one in business. Yes. Oftentimes, how do you just get to rapport building a little bit?
So I become controversial.
Okay.
Because of my accent.
Now, here's another thing that you probably may not have thought of, but I think you do it pretty well, is oftentimes you keep your message and your speak simpler. Okay, when you don't have a whole lot of vocabulary, you can get really concise in your message because you don't have a lot of words. Like, I'll be there at 10. Versus like, well, let me see what my schedule looks like. I got to check it, da-da-da-da-da. So sometimes it forces you just communicate the points. And that's super impactful in business, okay? Being able to convey your message with as much clarity as possible, and sometimes less words is better, okay? Now, one last thing that I want to sprinkle on kind of the words, okay, or the advantages, is leaning into your immigrant community. You see this throughout the history of the United States, okay? Whether it be like Chinatown, or the Irish immigrant sectors like Hell's Kitchen, obviously some of the Hispanic cultures have done this as well.
Yeah.
But this is great. So now you can go to an area, you can tap into that current, okay? And some of them are very powerful, very welcoming, and maybe even on the other side, some of them are like, I only work with, people like, they have the same barriers, right? So you could speak to somebody in Ilocano, and you might, 90% of your work might come from other Filipinos.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's a super big advantage. Now, the other thing I want to say, and this is something that's, we're all going to have a little temperament, so just bear with me here. I believe if I went to a different country, if I went to Egypt, okay, I would learn how to speak their native language.
Mhm.
So, although it might seem daunting and intimidating, you should come up with a plan to assimilate. Here in the United States, it's English, U.S. English. Like, how am I going to teach myself English? How am I going to get better at English? How am I going to get more assimilated into the culture? And how am I going to fit in? Because that's what you want to, like, if you move to this new area, you want to be part of what they have going on.
Yeah.
You don't want to move there and then ignore half the reasons you moved there.
Right. Yeah.
So that would be the other side of the coin is, work on it, create a dedicated path that's going to make you improve every day. And in 2 years or no time at all, you'll be a lot better.
Thank you. That's very informative. Yeah, because sometimes. So I have a story. When I just came to the U.S., when I was
Ooh.
when I was when I was working at the retail, and then can I say the name of the retail store?
Sure, I don't care.
So I used to work at Walmart, and then
Walmart!
and then this lady bought a shirt that has a hanger, and then I was struggling. They were struggling, so because my accent, and then I'm struggling because of their accent. My ears need to get used to it, because the way they pronounce word, it's not the same the way we pronounce word in Philippines.
Okay.
Like for example, I know that it's a hanger. In the Philippines, we used to say like hanger. Like most of the time, we don't necessarily correct our diction
Yeah, you
or
don't even know it's
how
wrong.
to pronounce. Yeah,
If you're just around other people that are saying it like you.
some other people who are very
Like itlog.
like some other people that very
Or quickly.
very good in English, or they have master's degree or bachelor's degree in English, then they are the one that can, correct what is the correct pronunciation. So let's go to our fourth question. But before the fourth question,
Nate, do we have any questions in the comments?
Nope, not from anyone new.
All right.
so how you guys eating dinner yet? So you can join us in here, grab your food, grab your drink while you are listening to us.
Grab your first or third beer.
Yes, something like that. And always remember, guys, it's not bad to work hard as long as you're also enjoying life.
And honestly, if you've made it this far, make sure like, subscribe, follow us on some of our social medias. Shouldn't be too hard to find us out, but we really appreciate it.
And as you can see on the screen, everything is down below. You can just
start clicking stuff.
clicking stuff, or just search the name or websites right there.
Much
Okay.
appreciated.
So, my mom's cantina had loyal customer who love her vibe. How can immigrants use their unique culture of background to stand out in a crowded market?
Okay. We're going to lean into some of the things that we've already talked about. We're just taking a step further. So we talked about sometimes you can use your ethnic background as an advantage. Zooming out a little bit more, it's about how am I different? Now, one of the things I think we can hit again is when you have that resonance, we'll use your mom, part of her personality, part of her wit and charm, or maybe her comedy,
Right.
and just her welcoming, and of course the flavor of her food.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that scenario, it's very important that she owns that and doesn't change much. Okay, if she's off and you need to cover for the day, guess what? You need to make her pants it the same way she makes it.
Right.
Okay, and if you can't do that, you can't cover for me. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
so it's accepting the responsibility of what you're really creating. Okay, we all have a story in retail, right, where we went in and basically the person I mean, we had one just at Giant, a few months
Uh-huh.
back, where they were just unacceptably, pardon my language, an asshole, right? Unacceptable. Well, guess what? You can't do that. And if it's your business, you have to understand that I need to compartmentalize those emotions. I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to have things that piss me off.
Right.
But loyalty is created through consistency.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me add one layer and then I'm going to come back. So, one layer deeper would be through that consistency. It doesn't mean you don't pivot and try new things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Through any business, which
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, would apply to a scenario of an immigrant business, is you want to say, how fast can I start making little decisions and be in the market? Because as you start making decisions, as you start talking to people, as you start trying to sell your product, you will be getting hardcore feedback, okay, on whether or not you're going in a good direction or a bad direction. And then the real work starts, which is to course correct. Okay, always be course correcting. Okay, what do we say? Win fast, lose fast. So the fast part of that is no. Always be making decisions. Always be trying new things. Get rid of the things that aren't working and bring in the things that are.
Yeah.
And if you think about this, there's two lanes. First off is you don't know what's going to work until you try some stuff. So the more things you try, the more things you'll find that work. Okay. Also, the things that don't work, you stop doing. Now, the extension of that would be the market's changing around you too. So just because you had something that worked 2 years ago doesn't mean that the market's not going to shift under your feet. Okay. Right now, one that comes to mind right now is fast food prices here in America because of inflation and some of the core costs. And eggs are just like, like you can't go to McDonald's, or you used to be able to go to McDonald's because they were cheap. Now you go to McDonald's and you get just like the base Big Mac, and it's like $12. And you're like, I literally can go to Applebee's for $12 and get an amazing hamburger.
Or like the other night for a KFC, like a bucket of chicken for how much? Because
we got like one of the deal things that was $23.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me bring it back to the immigrant part though. It's really, 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 really understand that you have to be different. The different part is why people choose you over the person right next to you. If there's 5 of us in a line, we could be 5 food trucks in a row. Why do people pick me?
Can I add something to that? Sorry to interrupt. Like, they can be different in a way of their own originality,
That's the definition.
Like,
be original.
Yes, like
you can be original through your logo. You can be original through your tagline.
Like, for example,
you can be original through your food.
Like, for example, it's easy to have like an Asian, like let's say Filipino restaurant. Like, for example, Brian will make a Filipino restaurant, but he grew up here in America. How do you know the authenticity of the food or the product? You don't know. So I think that is important also, I think, to have authentic if you're an immigrant.
I would say yes, but you gotta anchor it to the reason. So let's say you make authentic Filipino food. You would expect Filipinos to want that and come to your place.
Yes.
Or people who've been to the Philippines.
Yeah.
Now, let's tie this all together. So now we do that. We have authentic cuisine, and we find that a bunch of Irish Americans come,
right,
and they always want the chicken.
Yeah.
Now you're learning that, hey man, if we had more of this chicken, we would actually make a lot more money because for whatever reason, the Irish people love coming here for this.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's almost a blend of both. You do one thing. Why? Because I have an expected outcome that all the Filipinos will come.
Do you know if a Filipino restaurant is really good? If they have a lot of
karaoke.
If they have a lot of American customers, it means it's... I'm not saying that American doesn't have a taste, but it means it's not that really, really good. Because most of us, like immigrants, we like something that I really can taste, whether I'm here in the state or I'm in the Philippines. Like for example, if I go to a restaurant, like the taste should be taste like the same in the Philippines,
Uh,
which is you can really can tell if the restaurant or the Filipino restaurant is really good if they have a lot of Filipino customers eating to that restaurant.
I agree. And kind of what we're saying there is your market dominating position would be cultural accuracy. That's what you're leaning into to make you different.
Yeah,
When you look around here, like, where we are, there's one Filipino restaurant.
right.
If they do it well, they will capture all the Filipino market.
Yes,
If they do it poorly, they'll probably go out of business.
yes.
Did I answer your question?
Ironic you brought up Irish. Well, yeah, Irish going to the Filipino restaurants, considering Irish pubs, how few are owned by actually Irish people here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
What's next on the agenda? Hit me again. Oh,
so
hit me again.
this one is like, I think that's this for me. I mean, because me, I love plants. You know what I mean?
Hmm?
So
That is
I am passionate.
true.
I am passionate
Is this-
about plants and want to sell them here.
Okay.
What's your advice? What is your advice, Brian, of Pareto impact for an immigrant turning a personal passion into profitable business?
Okay.
Is that really possible?
Oh, it's very possible. And this goes back to our very opening statement. So it's about taking your passion and through that as a starting point, where is there a weakness? Where is there an opportunity? Where is there a problem that needs to be fixed? Okay. So through fixing that problem, what would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to change my original idea? Do I need to add to it? Do I need to pivot a little bit? Okay. And then it's always, I don't know, it's kind of like it's a journey. Okay. So here's your starting point. You talked about plants. Okay.
Yeah.
You could make educational content of how to plant. Maybe you could do, if you wanted to do, because we're talking about immigrants, maybe you could do, this could be both educational or it could be in application. Hey, here's how we do things in the Philippines. Ooh, that's kind of neat, right?
Right.
So there's lots you could do with it, but it all comes down to, I want to be very, very clear here. At the beginning, take your time and figure out the need in the market, okay? The opportunity, the thing that's not being solved, the problem that's not being solved. But here's the message, here's the learning. You just have an opinion that this needs to be solved. You have an opinion that people would pay for this, okay? You do not absolutely know that no one else has solved it. Although if you've done your homework, you're loosely informed. Okay, and you absolutely don't know that people haven't tried it before you and failed, or that it really will control a cost. Okay, or maybe there's a reason specifically that it failed in the past. So now we get back to that. Hey, you try some things and find out. Okay, so with one of the conversations that you and I have had about just trying to. So there was a little food shack. You ran it for a short period of time on a golf course.
Yeah.
And at some point, you guys added like little flowers and plants because you love them. Now, the cool thing there, though, is you're not exactly sure, and maybe it was a little bit of all of them, why it was successful. Was it successful because you had food? Was it successful because you had the plants? Was it successful because you had the golf course and the golfers and the easy marks? Or was it a combination of all three? So you could try something very similar and you take one of those ingredients out and it might not work.
Yeah.
But it gets back to hey, but how hard can you try one of them or two of them? That's where you'll find out if your idea is really good.
Yes. So to all of the viewers here, do you have any favorite plants? Do you have any favorite flowers? You can just comment down below, so at least.
Or if you wanted to start a business, what would your business idea be?
Yes.
Where would you go?
Because me, I really want to have a flower shop. Because as a woman, I don't know. Even my husband's gonna give me like brand new sports car or any expensive gift. As long as it's a flower, I don't know. For some reason, flower makes me smile.
Did you know about this sports car, Brian? That it was part of the plan?
I'm always last to find out, Nate. So, there's something cool, and maybe we'll do another whole thing about this at some point. But there's a lot of emergent, my background is really in science, okay? And there's a lot of emergent data coming out that that we are really at our healthiest when we're like playing with the earth, let's say. When we're walking on the ground with our feet touching the earth without shoes and socks on, when you're playing, when dirt
That's how
going
we.
through your
That's how we do in the
fingers.
Philippines. Like
Yeah.
growing up in the Philippines, me and my dad, my siblings, my mom, we go to the farm. We use our flip flops or
Heck, even the walk
bare
there every morning and every night.
or barefoot. Sometimes I even step the animal manure, but
It doesn't matter because you wash your
to
feet off
me,
before you get back
to
in the
me,
house.
yes, to me it doesn't matter. I don't care anymore. That's why when I came to the US, I don't get freaked out too much those small thing. To me, that is just a small thing. Because in the Philippines, like there's a lizard, there's a lot of insects or rats whatsoever. But yeah, it's life here is really different. Life there is really different also. But I think it's really nice to have a business in here in United States because everybody has money. Everybody likes to buy. Everybody wants
Consumerism.
convenient, right?
Yeah. Actually, let me. I know we're getting close to wrapping it up. So let me something else I want to talk about. And this is a compliment to any of the immigrants that are either coming or recently came.
Or going home.
Is that just like anything, you had enough of a fire to get here, and that makes you unique already. Okay. One of the things that has made America successful through that lens, really, of immigration, right, is that by the definition, the people who came here early on had enough fire in their belly to go on a grand adventure.
Yeah.
Okay. But that gets bred out of you. Okay. You literally get complacent and easy, and so as a new immigrant coming, you still have that fire. What, like, I don't know, whether it took you 2 years to get that green card application approved and all those headaches, you knew why you were doing it, and you were persistent enough to get here. So hold on to that, because that fire, we all want it. We all crave it. But the reality is that sometimes a soft life just makes you complacent. So leverage into that, lean into that. It's one of your biggest strengths. You just outwork people, man. One of the keys, this will never change in business. If you can find a way to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, okay, you've got something that a lot of other people don't have. Now, then your next thing would be to make sure it's working in a good direction that's going to find you success. But if you can do both of those things, you're off to the races. So it's pretty easy. I mean, that's literally why Pareto Impact exists, is to help guide people and make sure they're headed in the right direction, making meaningful decisions, so they can find success, so their families can find success, so they can share some of that success with employees. And then, of course, that spills into the local community. It's literally building it from the ground up, okay?
And don't be afraid to get that success.
No, I mean, we all define success differently.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? This one goes out to Andreas. Sorry, babe. I know you have your questions, but I was talking to an immigrant earlier, came here 2017, and I said, what is one of your biggest challenges? And he said, people. Okay. So let me talk a moment about people management. I think he was mostly talking about employees.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. If you create an amazing, great company, so follow me here. You pay better than other people in your industry. You educate better than people in your industry. You give better benefits and perks than people in your industry. and you create by design kind of like a plan where somebody who works for you has enough money to raise a family, all that stuff. Okay. Could you see how, like, you will not actually have a difficult time hiring because you're the best,
Yeah.
and you will not have a difficult time keeping people because you're the best. What people miss is they stop. It's almost complacency at a different rung in the ladder. Okay, they get complacent down here. They have an okay business that's making okay money, and they stop. And because they're down here and they stop at mediocrity, people can be a really big problem. But I would say in a scenario like that, like, how do you add another product, or how do you increase your profit by 2%? Or how do you do a risk reversal so that customer satisfaction goes way up? Whatever you do, understand that if you keep working and become the best of the best, most of your problems, but that includes people problems, will diminish slightly. Okay, because if you have more money, you can fix people problems and you can fix time problems. Okay.
You think if you have more money, you can make more money?
In general, yeah. Are you talking about in business though?
Yeah.
Or just in general?
In business.
I think so. So it's just a universal rule that if you have resources, you can, where it comes is you can make better decisions. I don't know, maybe, for Nate and I, maybe I could get the Premiere software that is super awesome. And then because I get the super awesome software, we could sell to just elite people at 10x the cost.
Yeah.
But we were like, hey man, we're just starting out. I'm not paying more than $100 a month for software.
But it doesn't always mean, having more money or funding is going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Look at Quibi. It wasn't going to be a successful streaming service, even though they had all this funding.
To be fair, Nate, you bring up a really good point. It doesn't guarantee success. It gives you more options.
Yeah.
If you're dumb and stupid or have a bad business idea, it still won't go anywhere. Or poor execution. It actually really comes down to execution. Always, always, always.
But anyway, guys, if you have more questions.
Any last questions there before we wrap up?
They're all mostly for me, but I just want to shout out Dollar Menu for joining. Welcome, Dollar Menu.
Dollar Menu!
Dollar Menu!
Hashtag you great.
We love you, Dollar Menu.
No, literally, we love the Dollar Menu.
And by the way, guys, thank you so much to all of you for joining us in here tonight. And thank you, Mr. Brian.
Special shout out to my guest.
Thank you to our social media genius. Thank you so much. His name is Nate.
Yes.
He's always behind the camera. That's his job, to hide it. So yeah, he's doing a great job. And see you again.
So he's secretly famous in his other life, so he can't be on the camera too much here. Or else the fans would just stand outside the house waiting for him to come out after work.
So we're gonna say goodbye then?
Yes. We bid you a wonderful
thank you so much.
Monday
Have
night.
a wonderful night.
Spend time with family, friends.
Enjoy
Don't
your
forget
night.
to work hard. Lean into your immigrant status. How are you different? Lean into your community. How can they help? And I thought it was a great talk. Thank you to our beautiful Say here, who is our guest host. Always appreciate Nate behind Pareto Impact Consulting and Coaching. We're here for small business owners to help them basically figure out how to find big bags of money and ride off into the sunset.